Hello, everyone, and welcome back to What After Dentistry. Now, we all know that the field of clinical research has recently been gaining momentum amongst the medical and the dental fraternity. Wouldn't it be good to practice this field in the United States? So, to discuss in terms of how you can get into clinical research in the United States after BDS or MDS, today we have with us Dr. Preeti Kamath, who graduated from VS Dental College and Hospital in the year 2002. She practiced dentistry for a year and then moved to the United States of America, from where she completed her master's in healthcare administration from the College of Business, University of Texas in the year 2006. After the completion of her master's, she got an opportunity to work in the field of clinical research as a senior clinical research associate. She's currently working with Icon Strategic Solutions as a senior clinical trials manager, and to grow her skills and expand her horizons, she also pursued a master's degree in research administration from the Johns Hopkins University in the year 2016. She has worked for almost 15 years in this field and holds an expertise in areas like electronic data capture, clinical data management, institutional review board, good clinical practices, and healthcare. She's an inspiration to all the dental graduates who want to work in the field of clinical research in the United States after BDS or MDS. So let's hear what she has to say about this field and how you can practice, what is the application process, and so on and so forth. Hi, Dr. Preeti. Welcome you on our channel, What After Dentistry, to talk about how to pursue clinical research in the US after BDS or MDS. So, welcome you once again on our platform today.
Thank you so much, Shireen. And before we start off, I want to congratulate you and Dr. Pai for having this wonderful platform that you've created to help dentists like us who are exploring different avenues. So definitely a timely and much needed space, to help people coming into this area as well. So congratulations, and I wish you all much success.
Thank you so much. So, before we get into a formal discussion of how to, go ahead with clinical research and, what is the application process and so on and so forth, we would like to know, like, how did you develop, your interest area towards clinical research and that too in the USA?
Right. So, Shireen, my story is a little different. I was looking to pursue DDS in the US once I finished bachelor's in Bangalore. I did my dentistry in Bangalore. However, as with most Indian women, my parents wanted me to get married. So I moved to the US to join my husband. And I went in and did take my dental board exams here. However, the cost was of going back to dental school was prohibitive. So, in looking for other avenues, I had an interest in hospital management. And so I decided to pursue my first master's in healthcare administration, which would essentially allow me to go and work in a hospital environment and manage the administrative side. However, once I graduated from that course, I was still on a student visa and I was not able to get a work permit. At that time, a friend of mine who was also in dentistry had completed her MPH and started working in clinical research. And she told me about a position. So, in the need of the hour, I took up that position. And this was back in 2007. So, I got into clinical research by chance. And since then, I've loved the area and I've never looked back. I've gone from position to position, explored the different areas, and I've decided that this is what I want to do.
I think that's great. That's an amazing journey. So it's like, you just go with the flow of what happens, and then you
Right,
pursue and then you excel in that field. That's amazing. So
right.
please
Thank you.
guide our audience in terms of how can they start with this particular field of clinical research if they want to do it in US, how after BDS.
Right. So, Shireen, I think the most important aspect at this point and where we are in the current situation with the pandemic, we all now know what clinical research is. We've had COVID vaccines coming out. We are aware that drugs that come to the market have to go through a clinical trial process. So, clinical research is in the front and center of many discussions today. So, if I had to recommend to dentists in India who are interested and want to know about clinical research, the first thing would be to understand what this field does. What are the different roles available in clinical research and then try and align your interests with what role you want to pursue. Understanding clinical research, there are two main components. One is running a clinical trial for pharma or device companies, where at the end of that trial, you want to bring a product to the market. On the other hand, if a dental graduate has interest in publication and the scientific aspect, then you want to pursue research where you can do clinical research. You interact more with patients, you collect the data, you publish it. So there are two very different parallel processes that you can follow. So one of the first things that I would recommend is for people to understand where their interests lie. And once you determine which path you want to pursue, you can look for clinical research courses that allow you to advance in that area. So for example, I did my master's in clinical research administration from Johns Hopkins, which really allows me to apply for grants and federal funding to support research from the NIH or from the US government. However, my area of expertise is working in clinical trials with pharma companies and helping them bring their product to market. So, two very different fields, but you have to understand that each has their strengths, and it really depends on what the candidate is interested in pursuing long term.
I think that's absolutely, you've correctly mentioned it, that, one has to define their area of interest within the clinical research and then pursue that particular
Right.
area, because that will help them to excel ahead and, refine their skills in that area. So, how soon can an Indian dentist start with the application process?
So there are a couple of ways that one can enter clinical research in the US. Either you can go in through a formal master's program, and you have several universities like Johns Hopkins, you have George Washington University. I'm based in Texas, so there is University of North Texas Health Science Center that offers masters in clinical research as well. So go ahead and look at these courses. Understand if you want to spend that time, it could be 1.5 to 2 years that you have to dedicate to a master's program. Understand the requirements, apply for the course. If you get accepted, most of these courses will expect you to do an internship at the end of your master's program, and that's one of the ways you get exposed to the work environment and work life here in the US. So go ahead and apply for those courses, complete that, and then move into a work life situation. The other option is, clinical research is global. So if you are in India and you want to start working, you do have companies that conduct clinical research in India as well. So apply for one of those positions, start working with them, and you can always, if you have an opportunity to move to the US, take an intercompany transfer, come here and continue to work for that company in the same field as well. So two different opportunities for candidates to pursue.
Yeah, absolutely correct. I think that's very right. You said, the intra company transfer, if one can take, I think that's a really good way of getting into clinical research in the US. So,
Right.
yeah. So, if I have to apply for an application process, what are the prerequisites that one has to apply?
Sure, and that's a very good question because as dentists, we already have a bachelor's degree from India. That does not necessarily translate into a clinical role here in the US. However, with that medical knowledge, you definitely want to be able to show that in your application when you apply for a master's program. You write your statement of purpose. You want to highlight that you are a dentist and you have medical knowledge. You do not get any waivers in terms of credit hours that you need to complete to get your degree. But having a dental degree definitely puts you at an edge over other candidates. Apart from that, the regular master's program in the US expects GRE and TOEFL scores. However, in recent times, because of the pandemic, they are ready to waive that as well. So talk with the university you're interested in, see what they can waive for you, and then go ahead and apply if it seems to be a good fit. In terms of requiring prerequisite hours, there are no real courses that you need to complete before you join the program. Once you join the program, they will tell you if you need to complete certain basic criteria in order to move to more advanced courses. But pretty much, if you're a dentist, you're already in the higher tier, and they don't require many prerequisite courses for you to complete.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. And, if I apply, or can I apply for a scholarship as well?
You do have scholarships that you can apply for. However, it depends really on what you're applying as. If you're applying as a student, an international student coming in on an F1 visa, um, as with every master's program, scholarships are very limited. If you are here in the US already, you're a permanent resident or a green card holder, or you're on an H4 visa, and you've been in the US for a while, you can definitely get a discounted tuition by paying in state tuition fee if you've lived here for a while. So it really depends on what your background is in terms of visa and immigration status.
Okay, I think that's fine. And these colleges or universities, like you've mentioned, do they provide 100% campus placements also for the students?
Not all of them. For example, Johns Hopkins, the student mix was primarily people who are working. They're already, they have jobs here. They're doing a master's program on the side, late evening classes to get that extra knowledge. If you're looking at a course like UNT, University of North Texas, you're coming in on an F1 visa, you are expected to do an internship, which is a field based internship. So they will connect you with somebody in the field to go do a prerequisite course and complete a number of hours. And then, if you're lucky enough, the place where you do your internship will offer you a job and process your visa through that.
Okay, I think that's good. And if a fresh MDS graduate applies for a clinical research, will they be given edge or preference over the other candidates?
Unfortunately, there is no distinction between BDS and MDS. I think just the fact that we are dentists and we know how to interact with patients, we understand medical terminology, that serves as an edge compared to all other candidates. Because in clinical research, you are using medical terminology, you're looking at patient-focused, processes, and then you're learning how to work into operations and managing a trial. So that's what you will be learning, but you're already bringing the first half of the strengths into the course or into the job based on your medical knowledge.
I think that's amazing. And like once I complete the master's program, after that, what is the next step? Like, how do I apply for a job and how do I get a work permit visa?
So work permits are easier to come by if you have done research where you're applying for grants. If you're working for a non-profit organization like a university or the NIH, National Institutes of Health, immigration rules, there is no cutoff or quota that you have to meet. You can apply for a visa, for a work permit anytime during the year if your uh, employer is willing to sponsor you. It's easier to do that in a non-profit setting. If you're working in a for-profit company like a pharma company or a device company, those are slightly more challenging to come by. Some of these companies don't understand the intricacies of immigration and what needs to be done. So I would advise that candidates plan very carefully on where they want to end up and who they want to work with. Understand beforehand if that company is going to sponsor you for a work permit before you go down this path and then realize it's a dead end. So you have to be very careful in your planning. There are some device companies that if you're excellent, if you work in their R&D department where you're designing trials, you are you're a niche candidate where you do biostatistics, they might be willing to apply for a visa for you. But again, plan beforehand, understand who your audience is going to be when you apply for a job, and find out from their HR if they're willing to sponsor work permits for when you'll apply.
I think that's fair enough and a good advice that you've mentioned for our viewers. So all you audience, if you're listening to our session, then please make sure that you, while you are doing the application process, you are in contact or you are in touch with the admission cell of the university or the college that you're trying to apply. Understand the prerequisites, the eligibility criteria, what all other examinations that you have to undergo, and then write a strong application form when you apply for a master's program in clinical research in the USA. And also when you are about to complete your master's program, make sure that you talk to your employer or the potential or the prospective employer, that whether they will be sponsoring for your work permit visa or not. So I think you have to plan in a very organized manner if you really want to get into this particular field in the United States after BDS or MDS.
You've
So
summed that up perfectly.
thank you so much. So I just wanted to know, like, how are the opportunities? Like you've already mentioned before that it's a field where globally it is accepted. So if somebody is not able to crack the say a work permit visa or an employment in the United States, how can they go ahead with what are the other opportunity areas or countries where they can apply for?
Sure. So, like I said, it's global. So, if I'm running a trial today, I have staff and team members who are working in India. I have project managers based in Europe. So, when we come together on a project, we all come together from different regions of the world. A case in point is, if a company or pharma company is looking to understand a drug. They want diversity in patient population. So they're conducting those trials in India, they're conducting them in East Asia, in Europe. So as a clinical researcher, I have opportunities to work in any of these countries, through my company. If I tell them I want to work remotely in Netherlands tomorrow or in India, they would be willing to accommodate my request and allow me to work in any country. So that's one way your candidates can move across borders. Again, if you decide to stick in your home country and work with that company, you definitely have a strong role in any clinical research project. So there's so much to do, there are so many different roles, because sitting in the US, I don't understand, or I don't have a good understanding of what the Indian government expects in terms of approving a drug, or what European Medicine Association requires. So if you are local to that region and you're a part of a large global study, you have a strong role to play in clinical research. So don't feel disheartened. You can stay in your home country, you can work out of your home, and still you can be a big contributor in a clinical research project.
Yeah, I think that's a very, hopeful and a very promising thing that you've said and you've mentioned, that one can work from their home country also, because as you said,
Right.
clinical research is something when you work on any particular medication or a drug, the trial has to run globally in various regions. So yeah, absolutely
Right.
correct. So, now since you've been working in this field for almost like a good number of years, what is the biggest advantage that you have gained while working in this field?
I am very thankful that I get to enjoy, because I did dentistry because I was patient focused. Clinical research allows me to remain patient focused. At the end of the day, your client, your customer, the person that you work with and you come to work for every day is your patient. It could be my family member, it could be my neighbors, it could be anybody who could benefit from the drug that we're trying to understand. So that definitely is an advantage for me to be able to remain in a field that I can work with patients, I can make a difference, I can use my dental knowledge, and I can work in operations which I enjoy completely. Clinical research on a daily basis throws many challenges at you. For example, I'm currently a clinical trial manager. So, one site can call me and say, I don't have lab kits to draw. My patient is going to walk through the door in the next 30 minutes. The biostatistician will call me and ask me that some data is not looking correct. So, wearing many different hats, knowing that at the end of this entire exercise, there is going to be a product that's going to make a difference and cure some disease. So, that's advantage right there.
I think that's amazing. And we missed out while discussing the application process. Like, how much is the cost or the time required in the entire application process?
So the application process, I would say, if you're interested, start looking at it about a year in advance of when you want to apply or when you want to start the course. The entire application from start to finish could take up to 8 months, where you collect all the documents, you write your statement of purpose, you need your mark sheets, from the university officially. The universities have deadlines like every master's program. They're a couple of months in advance of the semester you want to start with. And once you start with, typically programs take up to 2 years. Most masters program. But if you're working at a university like Johns Hopkins, where you're working during the day and you're doing your masters in the evening, you have flexibility to stretch that end goal out by a few years. You could take one course a semester, or you could take two courses a semester and finish it sooner, or you could do it slower. So, about on an average, about 2.5 years to get your degree, and about one additional year prior to complete the application process and put everything together. And in terms of costs, again, it depends on what immigration status you are. If you're an international student, it could cost anywhere from 30,000 upwards, 30,000 US dollars. If you're in state, again, it becomes a lot cheaper. You could get anywhere from 10 to 15,000 for tuition and books and all of the other items that you need.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. And are there any skills also that one should have before they want to get into clinical research?
I think as a dentist, we have an advantage over there, because dentistry is a precision field. Whether you're making a denture, you're making an orthodontic appliance, you have to be precise. You cannot send the patient home with something that just about works. It has to be accurate. Clinical research is like that. You have to be detail oriented. You have to know what is a requirement, what you have to do. You have to think on your feet, because at the end of the day, you're giving a drug to a patient and it's going to be on the market. At the same time, you have agencies like the FDA who will come and audit you. So you have to be detail oriented, and be able to document and be precise, and give it a lot of thought of what your next step is going to be, which again is an advantage to dentists because we are trained to think like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's very correctly you mentioned that it's a very detail oriented skill that is required, and of course you would need a good writing skills also, to write on all the researches that you are talking about and all everything.
Right.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely correct. And do they need to have a little bit of knowledge on using like Microsoft Excel or PowerPoint, because these things are or these tools are not taught while we are in dental college?
Right, definitely. So I would recommend, if you have the time and you want to pursue clinical research, get these basic tools in place. How to use a computer, how to conduct meetings, Zoom meetings or Microsoft Team meetings. PowerPoint is a big tool we use because we present to our upper management. We present to other team members, where we come to meetings every day, and we provide a status on where the project is, what the risks are, what the challenges are. We are continually assessing the trial conduct on a day-to-day basis. So you should be able to do basics like Microsoft Excel, pull up a spreadsheet, filter out items, um, use how to create graphs. So not too much into detail, but at least the basic skills on how to navigate through Microsoft tools is extremely important when you apply. Definitely, yes.
Absolutely. So, all you audience, please make sure that you have these pointers written down somewhere and you work on these skills, as mentioned by Dr. Preeti, if you really want to get into clinical research, because these skills are not just required if you want to work in the United States, but also in India, if you want to work in the clinical research area. Make sure that you have these, prerequisite or simple basic tools that you will be required to use while you are in this field on daily basis or routine basis. So, Dr. Preeti, your last tip or advice that one should follow.
Right. Like I mentioned, that for candidates to understand what area they want to pursue, because clinical research has different roles. You can be a biostatistician, you can be in data management, you can be a trial manager, you can be taking care of investigational product. So what is your area of interest? Go ahead and define that first, and then do not be afraid to take any kind of position as your first position in the field. A lot of people think a particular role is not suitable to them, or it's not something that they would do well in. But take it up, get into the field. There is so much to learn, and you can navigate your way, and and then end up at a position that you like. But and because every single role in clinical research is extremely important. For example, if you're a clinical trial assistant, you're helping us file important documents that the FDA will want to review. If you're a biostatistician, you need to know what the trial should look like. So every single role has an important part to play. So do not hesitate, take up a role, explore it, and you will find something that you enjoy.
I think that's an amazing advice that you've shared. So, all you audience, please find out your area of interest if you want to work into the clinical research field. Even in that, we have different ramifications, as Dr. Preeti has mentioned. So, identify your skill set, identify the area of interest where you can excel, and then start refining your skills in this area or in this field to practice it on routine basis after BDS or MDS. So thank you so much, Dr. Preeti, for coming on our platform once again and sharing all the insights that are required so that people get aware of this particular field. How can they pursue? in the United States after BDS or MDS. So thank you once again for coming on our platform.
Wonderful. I absolutely enjoyed myself. And, I wish you all the best. I wish all the candidates the very best. This is a fantastic field to be in and, to help people and humanity. So definitely come on board. There is a need for dentists like us to make a difference in clinical research. So good luck and thank you so much.
Thank you once again. So, all you audience, if you are patiently listening to our session today, then thank you very much for listening. If you're interested in this field, please make sure that you have all the pointers written down somewhere and you work on these points as mentioned. Please like and share this in your network because this might help out somebody who is looking to get into this field in the United States after BDS or MDS. And before I sign off, please subscribe to my channel. It's absolutely free. I will see you in the next video. Until then, bye and good luck.